The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited. Shalom, shalom.
The East is where we're from.
Blessings, brothers and sisters.
The
Blessings.
12 tribes of Israel.
All right, that's better there.
In 721 BC, the Assyrian king,
That'll work.
he took us down, we fell. With a great escape, we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel. So we be Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii.
Blessings, blessings.
The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulon from Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans, the highest gathering Israel.
That's right. The Most High's gather in Israel, brothers and sisters. I'm Elder Ricochet of the Gathering of Christ Church here with your weekly Patreon update. That's right. We're going to jump right in over to Patreon to have a Patreon conversation. Okay, if you have any questions concerning anything with myself, hey, when it comes to the truth and what's going on in the earth, I'll be more than happy to interact and answer those questions or dialogue on any particular question or concern you may have concerning modern day issues, especially in the prophetic time we're living under now. Hey, how you doing? We have D. Morgan. How are you? I see all my people up in here. Amaziah, D. Morgan. I see D. Morgan all the time. Judah Lioness, Rob in the house, Cecil, T. Johnson. Who's that? Apanawa. How you doing, Apanawa? Henry, Lion of Judah, all the brothers and sisters family. How are you? I hope you are doing well going into a blessed Sabbath. For those who don't know, I'm Elder Ricochet of the Gathering of Christ Church here with a weekly update before going into conversations with our Patreonies, our loyal Patreon members. It was such a great broadcast last week that it seems as if we're going to have Truman on today to come in and pick up from where we left off. All right. A lot of health concerns and questions on herbal treatments or herbal remedies, more so from the time since the Garden of Eden. Does some of those herbs still exist, and how do they help us get in front of any health issues? Are there cures? Who knows? Well, the pharmaceuticals have their way of dealing with things, and God has His way of dealing with things. And I'm blessed to say that we have Truman, who's been operating with the church, who can answer some questions and interact with you in case you want to know what natural herbs the Most High made from the beginning to help longevity when it comes to life. Okay. It's more so about living a healthy life, not responding to symptoms or illnesses. That's how the Most High intended for the herbs to work, so that we wouldn't need to go to hospitals and doctors continually if we can get in front of things with preventive measures. And I'm going to see if we can get Truman in to talk about that today. For those who are interested in it, it was a great conversation last week. If you're interested in that, Patreon.com/AGathering144. No sooner as we're done here, we're going to go right over to Patreon and open up the dialogue, okay? And open up the questions and concerns, okay? Now, the other thing is we're week 4 going into the Hebrew and Bible Academy, identifying who is Edom, the Israelites' biblical nemesis. The history, archaeology, and all that to prove who's Edom. And it's very important because Christ gave us an identifier, okay? He gave us some insight on who to look into, the people who would be secretly attacking God's people unbeknownst to themselves. Well, that nemesis is identified in the Bible. Christ says, you are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. St. John 8:44. You were what? You were murderers from the beginning. So the first murder was Cain killing Abel. So Edom would be that brother in the earth. That's right, that anonymous, ambiguous brother who have hid himself while attacking and murdering his own brother Israel, Jacob. So and the Bible tells us that that man of sin at the very end before Christ returns must be revealed. He say, I know thy works, Revelations 2:9 and 3:9. I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, Israel. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. So Christ threw out a lot of little clues in Revelations in the book of John, and to let us know that, okay, there's a war going on, and Israel, our people, have no knowledge at all that we're between the crosshairs in that war, that there's a conspiracy to eradicate our people off of the earth, God's people, before the coming of our Lord and Savior. So this is what we're talking about. And we're going to go into that in the Hebrew and Bible Academy this coming Sunday. Who's Edom? How to identify Edom? And how is he using I'm going to give a little tidbit on that today. How is he using proxy warfare to destroy us indirectly? And how is he promoting certain I would say subcultures within our community to have it where we would kill off ourselves? Now, all in all, if we're doing something ourselves, it's not their fault, but it doesn't help that they financially incentivize our subcultures. Okay? It doesn't help. We're not saying it's their fault that our people operate in the spirit of self-destruction. What we're saying is they're not doing anything to stop it. A matter of fact, they're willing to aid the destruction more so than helping us get through it, right? So who's Edom is a very, very, very deep lesson that I hope you all will be a part of this coming Sunday in our Hebrew and Bible Academy. We must identify Israel's nemesis. Go to historytimes.org if you're interested in it. And even if you can't be there Sunday, I mean, it's nice outside all over the earth. For years, brothers and sisters have been locked into their home with all these emergencies and all these things that they've been claiming, pandemic or whatever the case might be. So it's been a long time since brothers and sisters had the opportunity in the summertime to get out and do some of the things with their families that we were doing pre so-called pandemic. So I understand if brothers and sisters cannot be there Sunday. It's okay. All right. If you enroll in the academy, you can watch the academy anytime you would like, even Monday, Tuesday, anytime within the week. If Sunday is your rest day or a day where You have time from work with family, understandably so. So this way we've made it convenient. So if you enroll, you can actually go back and see the whole broadcast at your convenience during the week. And also, backed by popular demand, that's right, you can now download the lessons, the news, and the Hebrew so that you can actually have it in your own personal archive on your desktop or your telephone to be able to review it at any time outside of Sunday. So I know a lot of you brothers and sisters believe that, okay, I'm busy Sunday, it's warm outside, I can't do it this time because they finally allowed us out. We fixed all that. So if you don't want, I'm going to tell you, this academy have been serious when it comes to information, insight, archaeology, and history, and you don't want to miss it because each academy gets better, okay? So if this interests you, go to historytimes.org and enroll. Well, make sure you receive the 3 weeks prior, and you'll get your welcome packet, all the information, your sign-in information, and the link for the lesson this coming Sunday. Hope to see you there at 9 a.m. It's nothing like it. Hebrew, news like none other, and the lessons is like none other on earth. We'll guarantee it. Go to historytimes.org to enroll. Now, off that for a second, our next Hebrew and Bible Academy we'll be working on is it will have more so, I would say, spiritual and moral understandings from one lesson to the next, okay? So that we can be on code with one another, okay? And I'm going to, in this academy, the Split Before Israel, I'm going to delve into that because at the end of the day, our people are suffering in the earth for breaking God's law. So in our lesson, the split between Israel and Judah that will be coming up soon, I'm going to more so focus on the laws the Israelites broke. What made God so angry at us? Right? The laws Israelites broke. And the reality is, we've all been sold under sin. We've all been born in sin with no knowledge of our forefathers' sin. And through that ignorance, we've repeated the sins over and over, which keeps us in under a perpetual curse. Now the truth is here. So it's not to dive into or to blame brothers and sisters for any sins they're struggling with, or some of us don't want to look at the law knowing that, okay, looking at the law as individuals, we see how we come up short concerning the laws the Most High have given us. And some of us like to stay away from that because why? It's not good walking in shame, understandably so. But Christ brought us grace. He was crucified. He took our stripes so that if we did receive the truth, we can walk in the law from that point on without looking back at past shame. And this is why we have to go into it, because brothers and sisters really want to know if they're violating God's law. What can we do? What can't we do? How do we keep falling into the trap of going backward? How do we go forward and get on code with one another with God's law? Well, I'm going to start that in our lesson, the split between Israel and Judah. The laws the Israelites broke, not to shame anyone, because we've all sinned and fall short, but so we can actually get the knowledge according to the Old Testament on how to go forward. Okay? What can I eat? What can I eat? What makes us different than the Gentiles? How was the sacrifices made with the Levites? How does that apply to how we prepare food today and live long? See, the wages of sin is death. A lot of times, our life expectancy, our life is cut short, brothers and sisters, because we've sinned against God. Well, under a satanic society, a satanic government, a satanic world, they'll never tell us the sins that cut life short. Okay, especially in a world of depopulation and promoting disease and destruction. So it's upon us to get back with God so that what? He'll lengthen our life. So we need to go into that. What laws have we broken? Now that we've been forgiven, how can we go forward and not break these same laws again? Well, I'm going to be talking about that in our Hebrew and Bible Academy. And this is Truman. One moment. Yes,
Call
true.
may be monitored or recorded for quality assurance purposes.
Truman?
Yes, Brother Elder Rakashayar.
Okay, you're right on time. Just come on Skype and I'll call you in a couple of seconds.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm on Skype now.
My brother. Okay, Thawada. I'll see you in a couple of seconds.
Shalom.
Shalom. Okay, standing by. Great. So all in all, brothers and sisters who are newly coming into this truth understand we're Israelites, but need to know the do's and don'ts. There's so many Israelite groups and teachings out there. And to some who look at us and look at others, you would think there's a contradiction. Well, there is no contradiction in the Word of God. Okay? There may be what? A conflict in ideology or doctrine. And that's why it's upon you to understand what the doctrine of Christ is concerning the law. All right? You'll have people say that you can't do this or you can't do that. And what you don't realize, being fairly new, because you don't know the history of Israelites, you don't even know that you may be listening to those who oppose Christ, like the Pharisees. These were guys walking around always trying to point out what someone was doing wrong, so that they can what? Elevate themselves to a higher moral level to become your controllers. And that's how the Pharisees was. A lot of our brothers and sisters don't know that even though people may be bringing history and all that, when they goes into do's and don'ts, they're looking to put you into subjection. All right? Because you don't know the history of Pharisee. So what I want to do is I want to say, well, okay, the laws are exact. Okay? We should follow the law. But we shouldn't use the law to become an overlord or to show that we're better than others, or to say, well, look what I got. You know, you aren't worthy and therefore God is going to curse you. No. Christ have grace. Christ have grace. So I want to go into these laws with grace. Now, the Christian churches, they use grace as an excuse to break God's law, which isn't grace at all. Okay? So I really want to dive into spirituality, the moral codes within the Bible, and I'm going to focus on that the next academy, and I'm going to dovetail off of that, starting with the split between Israel and Judah within this academy, because I can go into the archaeology and history and show you who the Israelites are. That's easy, right? But why didn't the Most High deliver us after we were found? Well, when the Gentiles found us, we were under sin. We were dealing with sacrificing of people. We were dealing with totem poles, worshiping many gods, even the North American Indians today. We started picking up witchcraft, voodoo, and all these others. Perpetuated the sin that put us under the so-called, what they would call the so-called white man. But we're not just under the so-called white man. The Israelites are under every nation under heaven. See? We're being oppressed by the Asian, the Arab. Everyone is oppressing us. Why? Because we can't come together under God's law. Okay? So it's time for us to figure out what that law is, which leads to longevity. And I'm going to touch on that. Now, before I segue over into Patreon, brothers and sisters, let's go over a few news points that I wanted to talk about, right? War. Proxy wars on the rise. Proxy wars are on the rise. Now, for those who don't know what a proxy is a go-between, right? Where the warfare is happening and you don't realize why it's happening and who it's happening and who's doing it. But nonetheless, there's no doubt that we as a people realize we're under attack. If we understood who was attacking us, we would actually stand up, and do something about it. But the devil works in the dark. And this is why we have to understand that the powers that shouldn't be, we should understand that they use proxy wars, and we should recognize when we're under one. A proxy war is like a biological war, for instance. Like when the North American Indians were over here teaching the Europeans how to crop and all these other things. And there were some people who in good earnest was coming over from Europe to settle. They didn't have no plan on warring against the North American Indians, some of them. But guess what? It didn't stop the English and the Roman governments over there from using those people who came over here to settle as a proxy to get into the country to wage biowarfare. See? You have some people who mean well, but they can be still used as proxies. Okay, since now an agreement or a relationship have been made between some of our citizens and these Israelites who are from the tribe of Gad that we found in North America, let's now, during the wintertime, have smallpox placed in the blankets to give to them as gifts. Now, the people carrying them over probably believe that, okay, these are just blankets. I'm helping the Indians. They're helping us. But here it is. The satanic European government are using their satanic labs as biowarfare to kill off communities of Gad in America, using a disease to destroy a people through proxy. That's an example of proxy warfare, folks, on a biological level. Okay? That's proxy warfare. What we were discussing years ago about finding out about the Tuskegee experiment and things like that, right? So we have to be mindful of the proxy warfare because they'll never attack us in a way in which you'll actually see them coming, right? So that's one level of proxy warfare. There's political proxy warfare. I said years ago on the street when they were talking about jihadis and there might be domestic terrorism with Arabs coming into the country after the attacks on the tower September 11th, 2001. They were talking about Arabs. All the news were spouting Arabs. All that. Everyone was talking about Arab, jihadi, bin Laden, showing people training over the Middle East and all these, right? Arab. They came up with 48, Jack Bauer or whoever he was, taking down the terrorists and all these others. And I said, hold up. Something is wrong here. When I look in my communities, there's not a campaign to stop these same Arabs who are being deemed terrorists all through the propaganda. There's no slowing them up from setting up shop, stores, and communities. They're getting real estate in our communities. Something doesn't jive here. Something isn't adding up. They're making us believe that these people are the worst people on earth, but yet they're still incentivizing them in our communities. Black and brown, multicultural, they're all involved. I said, hold up. That's when a bell went off in my head. This is proxy war. If they can put laws in the books blaming Arabs, right? When it's no longer Arabs, those laws apply across the board. So suppose they make up with the Arabs, and at the end of the day, the true attack would be what? Using those laws to come against citizens and predominantly God's people. Where now, instead of its religious extremists being Arab, they can just later on down the line and say, well, this also applies to Israelites. And you will no longer hear about Arab jihadi, and then all the news all of a sudden will be on Israelites as terrorists. You see how proxy wars work, folks? You're using one side who's working with that side to set laws against who? The target. Against the target. That's a proxy war. And I told people years ago, be careful what's being allowed during the time of panic, chaos, or crisis. Because any laws we agree to put in place will eventually land on destroying us. Be very careful. And now, no one is talking about Muslims at all, are they? It's like the jihadis just went away with the story of bin Laden being killed under Obama. And now we're the target, just like I told you we would be in 2009 on those streets of Philadelphia. That's right. The path to the mark of the beast, which leads us here. Brothers and sisters. Proxy warfare. Proxy warfare, right? Let me take the Skype part off of this real quick. 1 second. Yeah, right here. Let me take that out of the way. What's going on and why they have the most people distracted? Well, September groundbreaking set for chips manufacturing facility in Coffee County. What's going on here? And folks, this is the same time they seeking to roll out Neuralink around August, September. A chip company now. Some people would think that, okay, jobs are coming back to the United States. What is this about? Yeah, a September groundbreaking has been set for a new computer chip manufacturing facility in Coffee County. Secure Semiconductor Manufacturer LLC announced Thursday. Oh, yeah, EMP Shield plans. Listen. EMP Shield plans to have 4 production lines operating in approximately 235,000 square foot. So, what are they saying without telling you? That someone is preparing for an EMT attack. So while they have you looking the other way, they're preparing to not only make a bunch of microchips for what's ever coming, mark of the beast, who knows? The Bible calls it one thing. But all of a sudden, all of this power, financing, and legislation is going towards, that's right, the microchip industry. As cash leaves the society, more chips are being made. And at the same time, you have a facility in the United States who's preparing for an EMP. That's right, folks. An EMP shield. That means something could happen where the grid goes down for a time. Right? 2 things in this. Microchips they're going to be using for whatever reason. I know I'm not getting one. I'll tell you that. But the other thing is they're preparing for an EMP attack. So when the lights go out, understand that when they come back on, that's right. When they come back on, it's going to be with restrictions. Every plan comes with them progressing towards the mark of the beast system, path to the mark. And if the lights go out, that's a sure way of silencing those who are waking up. And also it's a way of what? Taking care of those who are really against or have been dissenting voices against the satanic plans. Purge anyone? So make sure, brothers and sisters, make sure that you have your food, water, and all that ready. backup. Make sure you have backup sources when it comes to generators or power, so that you're not out in the street trying to figure out what's going on while it's happening. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it again. This is what proxy wars look like. The legislation they bring forth first tells you what they're planning for, and if they're planning for it, there's a great possibility it's going to happen. All right? And this is just a few things, but the news in the academy be ramped up, but I thought I would go over some of these because here's something else with the proxy wars, especially for our brothers and sisters overseas. I told our brothers and sisters a long time ago, I said, do not go into Israel. Okay? Okay, we are Israelites. That the land going all the way into Egypt that was sold to Abram, that borders Ethiopia, all the way through Israel and Lebanon, into the northern parts of Africa. Yes, that all belonged to us, but we lost that land. It's upon Christ to deliver us into the land. And I told brothers and sisters a long time ago, don't go and settle into Israel. There was a lot of I would say satanic scenarios attached to, even though there were some people who went there honestly under, I think his name was the brother that was over in Israel. I forgot his name, the brother that passed over in Israel. But anyway, they had a group over there. A lot of weird things was going on, and he deemed himself as almost a Messiah. And now that have crumbled and come to nothing. Then our people started waking up, going into Israel, different parts of Jordan and all that. And I told people, do not go into those areas. Check this out, folks. Check this out. Proxy war, anyone? Netanyahu says IDF training for possible fight with Arab Israelis in wartime. That sort of sounds like what happened over the United States, right? Where it was all about Arab jihadi, but at the end of it, they have a lot of these Israelite groups as the face of terrorism now. So now they put laws on the books, so during wartime, that even Arab citizens, as they claim, they're planning a fight. This is the times of Israel. They're training for a possible fight with Arab Israelis, right? Those who are citizens of their country. Now, when the laws are on the books, they can switch this Arab out. Now that our people found out we were Israel and we're going into the land, settling into different areas, how many people think that these wars will just be isolated, concentrating on Arab Israelis? Huh? You know what? They're going to switch this right on. They could switch this right on out. And it can be anybody claiming to be Israel who isn't of their persuasion. It could be. When the laws are on the books, the laws are on the books. Right? So when the lights go out, hey, when during wartime, hey, all is fair in love and in war. Okay? Brothers, sisters, if y'all in those areas, get out of them. Okay? If anybody know the history of the restoration, or what is deemed the restoration, or Americans and others going into the land, the political history of this, blacks were able to come over like Ethiopians and all that, but Ethiopians were really brought in as a subclass, as servants, as the servant class, as the country would develop. But if you're over there and you're talking about you're going back to the Holy Land and all that, If Christ didn't guide you back there, believe it or not, when the war go down, I don't believe even these people are going to be there. I don't believe. Because they have a place to go back to. The Ten Horns, Rome, Europe. So something is cooking up and there's a proxy war. And guess what? Hey, I can't say much on, I'm trying to keep my tongue guarded on this particular broadcast, but I'll tell you this. This is a warning. Times of Israel. Netanyahu says IDF training for possible fight with Arab Israelis. That's a warning, folks. Now, and I know the Arabs are from who? Ishmael. It tells us in Psalms 83 that Ishmael and Esau conspires together against the lost tribes of Israel. So the Arabs probably don't mind them using them as a proxy. As long as at the end of the day, like they did before, they can switch out the Arabs only to put a black face between the crosshairs. Well, that concludes our Patreon update concerning proxy wars tonight. Today, I have Truman waiting on the other side. We're going to open up the lines and pick it up from where we left off. 515-605-9327, where you can call in and get your questions answered concerning what? The natural herbs from God. If you have any questions, if you're on the line, and I apologize that it was cut off. I could have went on 2 more hours. I didn't want to cut you off within such an important broadcast. So I promised that I would bring Truman back for those who were in the queue who had questions. All right. Health is paramount. Okay. Without health, we're going nowhere. And brothers and sisters, understand, we must get our health together while there's still time. Okay. Let's get out of this thing of shame, this thing of being depressed, these things of finding reasons to stay complacent, and understand that if something we have to shape up with our spirit as well as our body, get it together now. Okay. If there's a weight issue or something, that's okay. That weight came on. Guess what? It can come off. At the end of the day, when we allow ourselves to become complacent, sick, and all that, we have to realize how much weight we're putting on our families to take care of us when we can no longer take care of ourselves. And I know that's not our intention, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. And in a time where we're going to have to be running, fleeing, and going from one place to the next, guess what? It's time for us to wean ourselves off of the dependency of all that stuff they're giving us. That's number one. And second, get our bodies in what? Wartime shape. And if that means getting up right now, a few days a week, and walking around the corner and walking until your stamina gets back up, if that means pushing away from the table for a little bit or eating less portions while you get your body together, because what I find when you're exercising, when you get your body together, everything comes clear. Everything comes clear because that's a weight not just on our body but on our minds. And at the end of the day, myself, I included, guess what? I found myself getting a little pudgy a few years ago. And you know what? I ain't feel nothing about it. You know what? No, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. It's unfair to my family that if I sit around and make myself sick, that now it's dependent on them to take care of me, even though they would. That's unfair to them. I need to stay as strong and youthful as I can in this war. Okay? There's people who's dependent on me. And I'm not going to put on excess weight and all this stuff and like Jazran and sit back and no. I have to be ready for the war. And it's upon everyone out there to get their health together. And we can't make excuses. Because those who are training right now behind closed doors in this proxy war, folks, they're not making excuses. They're getting ready. Are you? All right. I'll be right back. Okay. I'm segueing over to, I'm sorry. I sometimes, with passion, I like to go on and on and on. I apologize. Loyal Patreonies, I'm coming over now. Patreon.com/A Gathering 144. And I'll be soon working on the audio book, The Biblical 50 Laws of Power. And that will be something that once it's done, you can access it through Patreon. Okay? Because I cannot go through these laws and all this and breaking down things censored. All right. So I'm going to release that audio book, and I'm going to let y'all know you have to be a Patreon member to be a part of it. And the first month, it will definitely be all on Patreon where you can get the whole audio book. And I'm talking about some serious wisdom that can be applied in every part of our lives when it comes to taking back our power. And that's what it's about. The power that was endeared on us through our God. That the 50 biblical laws of power will be coming soon through audiobook. And you Patreon members, you'll be able to have access to that, and I'll tell you how to do so. All right? With that, see you over on Patreon. Patreon.com/A Gathering 144. Come on in the Hebrew and Bible Academy. HistoryTimes.org. Who is HistoryTimes.org? Who is Edom this coming Sunday? Shalom. And for those who are not Patreon members, I still love you. Bless you. Have a great Sabbath. Shalom. Keep in mind, we were born in a war.
The Arabs and Africans told us
At gunpoint.
together our wives and children then sold us. In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here. Asher in Colombia, Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans, from the Judah, the Negroes, Benjamin, the West Indians, Levi, the Haitians. The highest gathering is Colombia, Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans. That's who we be. Judah, the Negroes, Benjamin, the West Indians, Levi, the Haitians, Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, a valley from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulon from Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans. Our highest gathering is